Hey guys, so this is a tips for Sentinels, and her tips I separated into general use as well as Nautica because it's slightly different. But let us start with the general one. For tips 1 is rather an obvious tips, which is to place DPS or the sub DPS. If you are using Sentinel as the DPS, then you place your sub DPS in front of Sentinel. And that's because she will only grant Dread Bullet to herself and the unit in front of her. Generally, because she does 2 follow-up attack at the end of the enemy's turn, she will consume at least 2 bullets per round. And you also want to ensure that she is in this channel status where she has the bullets, because without it, she will not do follow-up attack. So she grants herself 6 bullets and she will consume at least 2. So you want to use her S2 at least every 2 to 3 rounds, unless your DPS is doing a lot of follow-up attack. In that case, you might want to use her S2 more frequently. For tips 2, once you gain Sentinel's ultimate, there is no need to immediately use it unless if she is the main DPS. And the main reason why is because her ultimate doesn't take up any space in your spell deck, so you won't interrupt any other unit's rotation, in the sense that, let's say you need to use certain incantation, and usually when your sub DPS or support unit gain their ultimate, they will block the possibility of you getting the incantation that you want, right? Because like if there's 8 incantation, if you reset, you get 2 of each unit. But when there's ultimate there, then one of them will not get one of their incantation. If you have 2 ultimate, then 2 incantation will be missing. So in that case, your entire rotation might be affected. But because Sentinel's ultimate doesn't take up space, so it wouldn't affect our rotation. Another reason why we want to use our sub DPS support unit's ultimate is also because we don't want to waste Moxie. Like if you get to their ultimate and then if you use their incantation, then you are wasting Moxie. However, for Sentinel's case, after she got her ultimate, and if she do follow-up attack, instead of having the possibility to gain Moxie, she can gain Fresh Wound. And Fresh Wound, you can still accumulate it, because the more she accumulates Fresh Wound, her ultimate will also hit harder. So it is not a waste. But if you got her ultimate, use it, get her ultimate, use it, it actually will lead to higher overall damage output from Sentinel, which is why if you are using her as a main DPS, once you get her ultimate, then just use it. And not to forget, because of Fresh Wound, her HP will get lower and lower. So if her HP is really low, use her ultimate, because her ultimate will heal her back up. For tips 3, if you start without any blood tie, then you should use her S1 first to gain 1 blood tie, and only use S2, because by doing that, she will then consume that 1 blood tie and grant 6 bullet to the unit in front of her. Without blood tie, if you use her S2, you are not going to distribute any bullets. So you can see here I got 0 blood tie and then I use it. It will also directly indicate that you will get 1 when you click on the incantation, right? So it shows that you have 1 now. Okay, so here it reset back to 0. Here I use it, it goes to 1. Right, debuff. Then I use S2. I consume the blood tie. And now you see Argus and Sentinel both have 6 Dread bullets. And for tips number 4, ensure that the total max blood tie is 50 when you are using Sentinel as a DPS, as her side cube does need at least 50 max blood tie to trigger the effect that increases her damage dealt. So here you see Mercuria, I'm using Nautika side cube. And the Psi Cube itself has very high stats for HP, and if the carrier is a spirit unit, it will increase their HP even more. And here Lopera Psi Cube also increases HP, and I have Sentinel that also increase HP. I would be able to get higher max blood tie. So here I have 52. Alright. For the fifth tips, just don't forget that the blood tie that you accumulated can be used for healing, right? Unless you have Nautika or Eternity E2 in your party, because they will actually consume the blood tie to do more damage. But for any other team, yeah, blood tie can be used for healing. And just for a demonstration, here all my characters are having slightly lower HP, so I use blood tie. You can see the one with the heart shape there. That is the healing. Alright. Okay, so about 1000 plus to 2000 healing, which is not that bad. For tips number 6, I have demonstrated this in a separate video, so I will share the link in the video description below. But anyway, here is to make use of Dread Bullet's additional damage. And the yellow colored damage that is dealt on the enemy when you have Dread Bullet is considered as a separate instance of damage. And this is useful against certain boss mechanics. So first is boss that have damage receive limits, like some of them have, you only can deal 10% of their HP per attack. But with this yellow damage, you can actually go beyond that. Or you have the one like the picture here show, some enemies has this mechanic where all damage dealt to them will become 1. But if there are instances of separate damage, then you can actually deal more than 1 damage, right? To the point that from that picture, you do, the red one is the normal attack, the blue one is Genesis, and the yellow one is 2 instances of additional damage. And lastly is against boss with Moribund, because if let's say you bring the boss HP to a very low number, and then you attack them, and that attack is lethal, then the yellow damage will be countered after you have depleted the enemy HP to 0. So due to Moribund, they might survive with a little bit more HP, but now the yellow colored damage kicks in and will deplete 1 more stack of Moribund. For tips number 7, when using Sentinel as a DPS, and if Semmelweis is in the party, then you want to use a shielder as your sustain, not a healer. Because with Semmelweis, you want Sentinel to operate as low as possible in terms of her HP, because that's where all the bonus damage comes from. Yeah, so it's better to bring character like Keeperina, Babel, or even Jay. But Jay's shield right now is not that good, so hopefully he get an Euphoria and his shield is as good or even better than Keeperina's. Next, for tips 8, and now we come into Nautika's team. As I mentioned, Nautika's team, the way you play will be different. Okay, so Sentinel is definitely more of a sub DPS for Nautika. There is no way she can out damage Nautika. So tip 8 is similar to tips 1, but here, since Nautika can do multiple follow-up attack in a row, then your concern is not on whether Sentinel has Dread Bullet or not. It's rather Nautika have enough for her to do all the follow-up attack while able to do additional damage. And since Nautica team doesn't really have a fixed rotation, so I didn't write one for Sentinel as well. Here I would just say if you have the opportunity to use S2 as frequent as possible, then use it. Most of the time Nautica will be able to consume all those Dread Bullets that she have. Tips 9, there is no need to use Sentinel's ultimate, as that will reset her fresh wound, and due to that will slow down blood type generation. So again, I have done the video for this. I will link it in the video description below if you want to see the actual gameplay. But here is an explanation. If Sentinel have 8 fresh wound, then she depletes about 2600 HP, which technically doesn't generate any blood type because you need to deplete 3000 HP to generate 1 blood type. But Sentinel, when she loses HP this way, the loss in HP is counted as double for blood type generation. So in this case, she will generate at least 1 blood type. However, if you have 20 stack of fresh wound, then you can deplete as high as 6500 per round. So if 3000 is generate 1 blood tie and she doubles that, so that's 2. So 6000 you're going to generate 4 blood tie every round, which impacts the damage that Nautika does. For tips number 10 is regarding her skill priority. As I mentioned, with Nautika, you don't really have a proper rotation. But your concern is that you want to be able to generate as much blood tie as possible in a short duration. So here I show you, if you look at everyone's HP is really low. So here I'm using Nautika's incantation. And you see it's just 1000 that HP reduction and you are not generating blood tie, even stamina-wise as well. But here Sentinel is guaranteed to get 1 blood tie. So in this situation where you can't heal back in order to deplete more HP and you do have some AP to spare, then use Sentinels as 1. Else, most of the time, you don't really need to use Sentinel as 1 at all. And lastly, at tips 11 in Nautika's team, don't use blood tie to heal. Save it for Nautika so that she can deal more spikes, which equals to more damage when she uses her ultimate. Alright, so that's all for the tips for Sentinel. Thank you very much for watching and have a good day.